Hey everyone, welcome back. So this is the last episode for Richard's car. I forgot to do an intro while the car was here. So this is the episode where I make the rear bumper from scratch and tidy up all the little loose ends on the car and then take it to the paint shop. And then at the end of the video, I'll probably just do a little update on what's happening next. Like I'm going to jump back on Barden's car and just a little bit of an update on what's happening with my car. So yeah, let's get to it. So I got the bar back from the chromers and no bueno, lots and lots of holes. So really didn't think it was this bad. It looked great on the before it got sent there and dipped, and yeah, really pitted. So unsure what I'm going to do here. I'm either going to recreate the bar. The sides are pretty decent, a few little pits in them, but yeah, pretty surprised how bad this bar actually was. Alrighty, so the bumper bar, it is beyond saving. I thought I'll try and weld a few holes up just to see how it reacts. Now it would be thick enough and it probably would work for some of them, but there's just so many here that it just seemed like an uphill battle, and the backside being so pitted, I just don't think they'd ever get it flat enough. They'd really have to struggle and copper coat it and block it all back. So I figure I'm just going to try and make it from scratch, and I'll use that as the last resort. I'll weld the holes up. So I've made a little template for the profile of it and got some 1.6. So I'm going to try with a few pieces of this just to see how it reacts. Now I think I'm going to have to add probably like 60% of the shape with the pan brake just to get it into the die set, because you haven't got much up and down movement on here. So if I was to max it out at height and below, I'm going to have the die sitting pretty much against the bottom of the tooling and then wind it up into the upper die. So I'll see how it works, but I'm pretty much thinking that it's going to have to be like pre-bent, and then I'm going to have to weld a guide to the side of it, clamp it to this, otherwise it'll just drive all off course and be a nightmare. Now I only have this shitty like methed together pan brake that someone's welded like angle and stuff on, and it's yeah, not really tolerating the 1.6. So don't know how I'll approach this now. Alrighty, well, first test piece I'm going to run through there. I managed to just bend it about that much using the slip rollers and the pan brake. So I'm going to run it through, no guide or anything, so I'm probably going to be pretty wobbly, but I just want to see what it does. And you can already see the first issue here is as it's going to be gradually pushing it up, it's going to clash into the rails. Really didn't want to take that off because I kind of need it. Now I've used this sledge to curve it over a bit on the ground just to be able to form it enough to get in there. So I've done a few passes here. Obviously we're going to have to shrink all this edge anyway to get the curve of the bar, so we'll see how it ends up here. Cool, so it's definitely possible. So I've been shrinking this edge here to try and give it that arc it needs. So it's about halfway, it's got to get a touch more. So I say a touch more, but because you're using 1.6 it takes a lot longer than your normal 0.91 mil. So I'll give it another few laps and hopefully it'll be correct. So I've been doing a combination of shrinking this edge with the kick shrinker and then running it through the die and hanging on both sides like a monkey and just holding my full weight on it to try and pull this top up. So it seems to be working. The arc is nearly matching, so go a few more passes on it and then I can start pulling this area back up to make this number plate light. So the arc now matches. I've just got to start pulling it back up because the bar starts to creep back up to this height from here. So that's what's stopping me from letting it slip inside itself. It's clashing and yeah, not letting it fully meet yet. So it's frustrating, but I'll start pulling these ends up from here. Probably end up slicing it because I'm going to do the sides in separate pieces. So I'll do these sides and start tipping those edges down and try and meet the happy medium sort of in the middle, because it's a long way. the bar also jumps up in height here. Obviously hard to see in a raw finish, but yeah, change the shape multiple ways. I was just making one of the smaller end pieces and actually split the die, so that fully opened right up like this. So yeah, I knew that was going to happen, kind of thing. Like, I thought, like, you're running it right on the risk there with not much meat, so I'll just put a brace end to end now and just TIG it either side, and hopefully that fixes it. Alright, we're back in action. Just mix some scrap on there, and that should hold it. I've started the sides, just cut for the shrinks, and seems to be working. Just got to shrink the edges of this side to give it that arc, but might work out here. Put some tic tacs on there this morning. Shape is still good. Just blaze out a little on the ends here. Just got to swash those in a touch. But bigger gaps than I'd like, but whatever. It should still work. It's nice and tight. At least it lets me see that it's resting actually on the bar properly, and it is going in. Both pieces here actually stepping inwards and stepping up. So I'll get the other piece to be the same now, and I'll probably acid wash it at the end to get all the hot rolled stuff off. I've just been using just a little Scotch-Brite wheel just to use to the areas that I'm actually working on, but I'll probably wash it with acid at the end and really raw it all up. Well, I found the maximum tension for the spring, so now I've got to manually pull it back up as if it wasn't hard enough doing 1.6 on the kick shrinker. So just getting the puzzle pieces to interlock each other, so they'll just slide in and out there, and just using a combination of the T-dolly, the shrinker, and the running it through the die again just to get the correct arc on it, because it's far from flat. So it's pretty much roughed out now, just tacked together the correct shape. I've still got to make just these little ends that slip in, so I'll just make those out of the existing pieces I've already got as offcuts, and then I'll drill the bar holes for the ends. But I'll get it all zapped together, and then I'll continue like plunging it over the T-dolly, maybe run it through the die if any areas I have trouble with. It seems to be working. So the threads will obviously have to be replicated as well, because they're pretty cactus. So I don't know how I'll do that. I'm going to have to pretty much jig the bar to weld little brackets in like that with some bolts. I'll probably wait till the ends are on maybe, and then use these as reference holes and just build a little box section jig for it. So it's going along and filling any craters and stuff like that. But as expected, when I welded this area here, it shrunk it a lot. It kicked it up higher than what I would like. So just got to relieve that again and pull it down, clamp it to the bench, and then I'll weld that up. Let's just make this piece now for the number plate light. So just on crater filling and little imperfections now, just building up some edges around this area too, so I can shape it a bit more. And hopefully it comes good. So it's fitting pretty good now. Just got to tidy up little imperfections now, so I've polished it a little bit just so I can see better. There's a few little grazes and stuff that need to be addressed. But sides it comes. So yeah, fitting decent. Oops. Oh boy. Alright, so fitting pretty decent now. Just a few imperfections or grazes and stuff that need to be addressed. Yeah, sitting on. Obviously super hard one-handed. Yeah, that's it. So I pretty much got to just tidy up all the little minor dents and little tiny stuff like that before I can go any further. And then I'll weld in these inside pieces and then figure out how I'm going to do the actual bar mounting points. They're clamped back over the top so that I can mark the number plate light holes and other things before, just a bit of last time really, until I can clamp it over the top, because as soon as I put these pieces on, it won't let me put it over the top anymore. So just got to do these holes in here for the light, and then figure out how to jig it to put these on. So I've just got the end mocked in place. Had to recreate this, so started off with that, cut a few slits in it to give it the shrink down that it needs, Then you got to trim all the ends and stuff up, but pretty much just wanted to get one clamped in so that I can go inside and finish for the day, but actually see that it is going to work. So happy days, I'll battle on tomorrow. So I've tigged the ends in place now, and now I'm just shaping just this section here, and then I've got to cut along for the step down. Got this clamped in place now to check, just adjust it where it needs to be adjusted, and then I can drill my holes, because the step down is pressed on one side, and it's obviously split maybe at the factory or something, because there's a weld on this. So I'm assuming it's split from the factory and they pressed it, maybe just welded it up just as a little safe keep. So obviously no way I can press that, so I have to make it by slipping a piece on the inside, tigging it, and then cutting that step down. Alrighty, so I just bolted the ends on. Now I've got to go check it to the car, and then the last thing will be is add the mounting points on there. Got to drill the number plate light holes as well before I forget, but yeah, fitting pretty good. So that's sitting on the car now. Obviously it's got to come up, but I've got to trim this back, trim all the gap up on there, but yeah, bolt it in. Just needs to sit, pretty sure it's just got to sit up a smidge like that. But this is where it's going to get tricky, is to get those mounting points added to it. I might use the holder bar number plate points as a reference points and try and jig it, get it bolted in. That way once it's all bolted in the car, then I'll trim all this excess bar up. So make these little plates now with the bolts. So I've got some bolts and got some scrap plate. So I'll cut them out now and then figure out a way to jig it from the end points and the number plate reference and get it in the right spot, because it's not the center, it's actually offset, sitting upwards. So the depth will also be a factor as well. So I made the brackets, sit in there, so I'll just TIG the bolts to them now. Alright, no jig, I just freestyled it, measured different points. Seems to measure up correct, so I've only put a few little tacks on there just for the TIG, and I need to try it on the car, make sure it's in the right spot. Well, you're bloody kidding, fits, first go. So good. So I'll finish off welding these on now, just a few little tacks on there. So I'll pull the bar back off, weld the brackets on for good, drill the number plate light holes, get one of those bolted in, then I can go along and mark wherever it needs to be trimmed off a little bit. So obviously it's going to need a spacer on this side of the quarter. I know it did have one, just to give it a bit more of a gap there. It's a bit too tight for my liking, both sides. Yeah, I guess a little spacer on there. So back on the car, fitting real good. I'll just mark up any gaps that need to be tidied right up or anything. Seems pretty good, but I'll just confirm on my car. I think I might take it just a touch out of the middle here. It's a little bit curved, but seems to be that's how it is. So we'll see. I'll get a happy medium between a few other Cosmo owners and see how far their bar sits off, just so I can be sure it's right. So I think I'll be repeating that process again with Barton's bar, because it's obviously hammered, but his ends seem really good. So I'll repeat that once I get to his car, and I know I can make it now, so that's a good deal. I'll use this bar as my template again, because it's straight, just rusty. So just reassembling the car now, got the bar just off and just gave it a final sand and check over after I welded the nuts on for the number plate light. So yeah, going to fit it back to the car now and should be happy days. Heading to the paint shop tomorrow. Have the bar bolted back on, and as you can see it's very tight up the front where it bolts on about here. So I'm going to ask the panel shop what they want me to do, if they'd rather have it trimmed down on the bar or just run a spacer behind, because the gap, it is pretty tight factory, but yeah, I think it's just a bit too tight for my liking, especially if the paint's going to be nice. You don't want to be digging in the corner there, so I think a spacer would be the best option, just to get the front just away from the line there. have the bolt loose at the moment, and if I push it out, it just looks so much better if it's spaced out. So I'll just get a spacer for the mounting point there, which would be much better than having it real tight close to the body line. Sway bar bolt is all sorted now. Look at those welds. Yikes. So I've got to sort out this apron now. Little areas here where it's like pitted in a few spots. It's just little bits of damage here and there all over the apron, and some holes and stuff to fill, and I'll finish off my joins here and here once the apron comes back off. But yeah, I'll just do the stuff that's overhead now while it's up. Apron's back off the car now, and just gone along and bug zapped any holes that were there, just drilled out any little pitting and minor issues that are along on any spots here. So get this all tidied back up and sat back on the car. Also needed the apron off to get up access so I can TIG these little 4mm nuts in that go in here for the headlight rings. The amount of trouble just to get these bloody nuts for the headlight surrounds. They got lost in transit the first time, and then they didn't leave the shelves the second time, and then they just got delivered while I was at home, and I had to go pick them up from the post office, and the line was of course out the door, 10 people in front of me. So yeah, all that just for these 10 tiny little 4mm nuts. What a nightmare. But I can finally finish the car now with them, so I'll get them welded on. Alright, this is extreme difficulty to get this up into that slot up there. Got to get my hand, which barely fits, and then get it pressed up against the underside, and then I'm going to have to hold a nut in there and TIG it in to where it was spotted. Nightmare. You got to get creative. So fish that up in there. There it is. Sweet. Got all the headlight nuts welded in. Come up pretty good. Can't argue with that. So I've got the inner tub ready to chuck back in. Just going to do some weld through along this edge here for the plugs. So ready to chuck the inner tub in the car now. Just got to prep the inside of the wheel tub. I think the camera is going to spasm out here with the light. Yep. But just a little tab up there to put some weld through on, and just prep and prime all the inside of this tub. Drill my plugs along the edge here, and should be it for the body of the car. Alright, so edge is primed. Plugs are drilled, our weld through primer been applied, ready to weld in. Alrighty, so I started tacking the tub in, and I'm like, why do I not have a gap? And then it dawned on me, I was like, I think you fucked up here. And sure enough, I've made this to here 40mm, and on the other side, so 40, and on the other side 35. So yeah, no good. Idiot. So I got to cut that out and fix this edge. Alrighty, so after that stuff up, chopped out that piece, pigged in another piece. So yeah, don't do that. That's how to work for free and fix all your fuck ups. But glad I caught it early, because if that tub was welded in, then I noticed that it was 40mm, not 35. I would have been bloody spewing. Sweet, so it is welded in now. I TIGged probably to about here on each side. It was just way too hard going fully overhead, so the top section I MIGged it, but just ground it enough. No need to go crazy in there. It's a wheel well. It's just going to get covered in seam sealer and stuff over all this anyway, so just get it pretty decent. So now I pretty much got to clean up the floor for one, and then get the body down, just start scuffing everything down, give it a coat of phosphate over everything, and then play with the door weld a touch more. So just a few little areas I just want to pick up just in the center there, so I'll get to that before I tack that window winder piece back in. So I'm up to the battery tray now, which is the second last thing on the car. I've got the battery tray and the rear bumper to repair. and it's just 3 simple folds. This is like first year apprentice level stuff, so should be able to knock that out pretty easy without stuffing it up. Got a full sheet of 1.6 this morning, so we'll get to it. So this will be the last time all 3 of these are in the same place together, and just a quick recap of what has been replaced on Richard's one. So yeah, basically both sides of the car, all the floor pans, inner structures, inner sills, outer sills, dog legs, door skins, inner door skins, quarter section, boot floor, spare wheel well, rear bar. Yeah, the list just goes on and on of what's actually been changed on that one. But dropping it off to paint in the morning, and yeah, it's really excited to see it change shape from here. And obviously this is just what was intact enough to remove, so it doesn't include all the nose cone pieces, all the inner structures and pieces that basically turn to dust, like yeah, all these pieces on the nose cone and like indicator areas and the other front sections of the floors, and just yeah, in crazy amount of work in this car. It doesn't look like much here on the floor, but yeah, this is only what was intact enough to remove. And Richard's was basically the warm-up lap. This one here is much more severe. It's a full rebody. My car is slightly better. The top half is sort of holding together. It's very pitted and stuff, but obviously not as bad as this one. This one's got a full roof swap we've got to do on it, and much worse all round. Of course, right at the end of the job, where it would have been really nice to have, my dad's work gave me 2 of these with all the arm attachments and stuff, and this would have been a bloody lifesaver instead of drilling 1,000 plug welds and MIGging them all up. But of course I don't have 3-phase in the shed just yet. I run a converter to run my Pullmax, but that's only a tiny little 2 horsepower motor, and it's because it's from the 60s, that's all they really had. But this will draw massive power, so I've got to dig a big trench and get 3-phase running here. And a big thanks to my mate Ash for bringing these up on the front of his trailer. He wheeled them through the hotel as well and checked them in for the night because he didn't trust them staying on the trailer. So yeah, thanks heaps dude for bringing those up. Absolute lifesaver. Just about to load it on the trailer, so I thought I'd just do an overall underside look over. So I don't think I've taken many pictures with this frame and stuff in the way, but yeah, got all the underfloor braces all on, these little spot weld tabs to hold the lines run down there. Those braces are all on the floor there, floors joined up, tunnels all straightened up, all the lip on the tunnel, spare wheel well, it's repaired. So yeah, it's pretty much ready to go on the trailer right now. All loaded up and ready to head off to Sunshine Coast. So a 2-hour trip. Back home now, and only 2 Cosmos in here, no more third one. So I will be following that, as I said, to the paint shop for its updates there whenever they do start on it, and throughout the whole fitting up and putting the car back together stage. It's got so many new old stock parts for that thing. It's like, yeah, the engine is completely brand new old stock rubbers, windscreen rubber, rear rubbers, suspension bushings, you name it. So yeah, it's going to be a really nice car to see put together. And don't know when the next video will be or what it will be about. I do have a ton of footage filmed for my little 1000. Yeah, I don't know, I might get a bit more done on that before it's before I show anything about it. It runs, but yeah, just not really much interest in that at the moment. I'm just going to chew through a few other cars that are here, and then yeah, maybe post up something when it's a big chunk's done. So yeah, thanks again for watching guys, and I'll keep you updated on the Cosmo. Also picked up new rears for the Cosmo, so 13x10, 6-inch lips. That should fit on the back of here. It's got to shorten it probably 30mm more. So I run a 30mm spacer behind that. It's got 4-inch lips. Well, it looks ridiculous. And that's the maximum you can shorten that cradle. It's pretty much butted together. Why do I do these things? So ridiculous. So I raised the cradle up another 65mm as well, and I've got the front to do, so I'll raise the front one up a smidge more just because I want a little bit better arm angles than what it has. So I may as well, while I'm here, while it's only all stitched in. I just got tyres fitted and yeah, look awesome. So 235/45, pretty big. And I've just got to move the wheel tub inwards now, so I just got to slit the wheel tub here and just move it in, just give it a bit more clearance. So yeah, got this thing back to a rollable state now. I've got the semi-slicks put on the rear wheels. I'm building a matching pair for the front at the moment, Mark 3s, and waiting on a gearbox and seats so that I can mount the pedal box and mount the engine properly. It's just sitting there at the moment. I need to put a front cover on it so I can make the front engine mounts and stuff as well, but happy with how the car's sitting. It's rolling good. I'd like to drop down to like a smaller profile on the front. It's a 185/60. I'd rather run a 175/50 semi-slick on the front, and it'll drop that just a smidge down. But yeah, as soon as I get those parts, I can progress forward with it. But until then, it's just going to sit here as a rollable little paperweight. So I think the rears ended up being like 13/11 or something with a 235/45 semi-slick. You can't really see, but the arm angles are really good in the back. So the body drops 150mm body drop, and then I raised the cradle and rails up another 60 from there. So it's on the ground, but it's got stock arm angles all round. And then with the front, I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to move the front up another 50 for the cradle once the rails and stuff all get remade. But yeah, should actually drive really good despite being absolutely railed. And as for exterior panels and stuff like that, I don't have doors at all. I'm bidding on a rear screen at the moment. It's very, very expensive for the rear screen and trim. I do have a front window, no trim for the front window. So I'm hoping my mate Jay comes through and he knows of another one over there. So apparently unrepairable and complete. So if I can grab that, I'd be absolutely cheering, because I'll grab the doors off it, all the glass, all the trims and stuff that I need. But as for now, I'm just piecing it together bit by bit, bidding on a set of full tail lights, upper and lowers, and yeah, whatever I don't get, I'll just make. So yeah, and I'll jump back on to Barden's car now. So as soon as I get this one knocked over, I'll put that back center stage and start on the other side of the car, which is pretty much exactly the same. It's probably more damage on this side that I've got to pull out first before I can make this side of the car. And then it's also a roof as well, because the roof is actually fully caved in and rusted out. So I have a roof cut for this car about here, so I'll change that as well, do pillars and a roof skin. But yeah, that'll be a fair while away, a few weeks away before I jump back on that. I do have a lot of other footage filmed of like my ute build, but I've just lost a bit of interest in that car. It runs at the moment, it's got a fresh motor and box in it, but I've just got to put floors and stuff back in it. I just yeah, ran out of steam on this one, so it's just sitting there on the back burner at the moment. But yeah, it's really itching to get my coupe back. My coupe's getting the headers and the exhaust done at the moment, and really keen to get that car back, because I'll be running full steam on that as soon as it's back. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll drop another video in a few weeks. Thank you.